Hi guys, it's Jenny with Art for Good. So today we are going to make a round canvas ocean inspired piece that is going to be first done with an acrylic paint pour, and then we will sort of add texture to it that make it look a little bit like black rocks or the ocean crashing over black rocks. And lastly, we will finish it off with resin, and it really makes for a beautiful piece, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's get started. So I'm just starting with a 16-inch round canvas. I have a sand toy shovel here because I was sort of using that to move the paint around just as a fun twist on an acrylic pour and an ocean-inspired piece. So I have already pre-mixed all of my paints, and I'll put a link here to my paint recipe. We're using an aqua color, a metallic blue, and a Prussian blue hue, and then I'm adding a little bit of fuchsia in so that it'll really make it look like the sun's setting. So first we're going to put down one of the blue colors, and I'm just going to sort of no particular order in how I'm laying down the paints. I sort of want splotches of paint color throughout, so I'm just going to make a collage of different colors here. And I love using sort of a balance of light colors and dark colors, so this Prussian blue hue color is just dynamite. And then adding a little bit of aqua so it'll give it some contrast with the dark Prussian blue. And then just tiny little dollops of pink throughout. I don't want to use too much because I don't want to change this into sort of more abstract than it already is, so I'm just adding a couple pops of color throughout. In terms of prepping my canvases, I don't do anything special except for tape the back, so no need to do any special coating or anything like that. And I think we're ready to do the swipe. So for the cell activator, I have a titanium white that I use, an Artsmith brand, and I am mixing that with Australian Floetrol. I just started using for cell activation, and it seems to really help with the cells. So, but first I'm going to just put a little bit of iridescent white down because I think that will help the white cells pop up. And this is just mixed with regular paint, and my regular recipe, that is not Australian Floetrol. So here's the white that you see is the cell activator. So it is Australian Floetrol and paint and a little bit of water, and that's it. And if you don't have access to Australian Floetrol, it is not necessary. You can use just regular Floetrol and some paint and water and add 1 drop of silicone oil to your cell activator color. And it's a little bit thinner consistency than the rest of the paints because that's going to help those cells pop through. So next we're going to swipe it with a paper towel. So I'm just getting a paper towel ready here off camera. I'm spraying it a little bit with a spray bottle of water just to dampen the edge where I'm going to be doing the swipe. So I just gently set it down, and then just one solid movement all the way across. Now you want to sort of let it sit here for a second and let all those cells start to develop. You don't want to manipulate it too much before those cells have had a chance to kind of grow in size. So I'll do a quick torch to see if I can't help get some of those cells to pop out a little more quickly. All right, so I love how it's already getting a lot of lacing, a lot of cells popping through, and it'll just continue to happen with time. I'm just filling in a couple spots that for some reason the paint did not translate. I'm going to spin it a little bit just to see if I can keep the shape of those cells while expanding the paint a little bit more to cover the edges. That's one of the benefits of spinning, is that if you're tilting something like this, you're going to alter the shape of the cells. They're not going to be fully round. So if you want to try to spin it out, you'll keep the shape a little bit differently, or a little bit better, I should say. So I'm just gonna sort of scrape off the white part that here, and this is where I'm gonna add black so that it'll be sort of the black piece where the black lava rocks will go eventually once it dries. So I'm just covering it with black, nothing special about this paint mix. I believe it is a Mars black. And I will put links and descriptions in the description below in terms of exactly the paint colors and materials that I used here today, so you can reference that. So I'm using my sand shovel here, and you can also, you don't have to use a sand shovel. You could just use a regular palette knife or something like that, but I was just having a little bit of fun today. Just making sure all of those edges are fully covered. And this is really starting to take shape, and I'm really loving how it's starting to look. But as you can see, that edge there between the ocean and the sand is a little too abrupt, right? So I'm gonna try to do some, add some additional white here, and then blow it out a little bit to make a splashing effect on the sand. You can use a straw for this. I was just sort of doing this one without that, but obviously if you want a little more control, use a straw. I wouldn't recommend using a hairdryer for this. I think it's going to be too strong of an effect. You really just want to blur that line a little bit and make it look like sea foam washing up over the rocks. All right, so let's give it a final torch, just to make sure we pop any bubbles that have come up, and we're gonna let this dry, and then I will explain some further steps. So now the painting is drying, and after it's dry, I use a black texture gel from PBO. I'll put a link in the description. But it is very interesting. I love this product. I've just started using it, and essentially it's like a granular paint, goes on with a paintbrush, and it's got a clear gel that when it dries, all you can see is sort of the sand effect of the black sand. So they have different colors. I'm using black here because we're doing sort of lava rock, but I paint that over the bottom piece of the beach area so that it'll give it some texture. And I really made sure to not make it even in terms of even with the canvas, because I wanted that texture and that up and down, so that when we do the resin, you know, it's okay that the resin doesn't cover that piece of it, right? Because the resin is sort of meant to make the water piece look like glass. So this is the final piece, how it turned out. I did also add some more white, as you can see here, next to the beach. I just felt like it needed a little bit more white than what I had done while it was dry. So I added that after it had dried. And I added a tiny bit of gold paint to the black lava rock, just to give it a little bit of a sheen, a very light coat and very splotchy. I didn't do it evenly across the black rocks, but I wanted to help give it a little more dimension. And so let all of that dry, and then just did a coat of resin, and it turned it completely beautiful, glossy, and I love how this turned out, and I've loved exploring this combination of texture and resin and paint pouring techniques. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments below, and I hope if you like this piece and you like the some of the other techniques that I've been showing, please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate your support, and we will see you next time.